Welcome to the Cherland podcast, where I, Cherland, end up having a conversation with musicians that I really love, playing some songs, hearing some songs, and sharing stories back and forth and learning from each other. On today's episode, we have Bryan Titus of the Bryan Titus Trio. Bryan is known for creating a genre all his own called postmodern barn dance. What does it mean? I don't know. Listen to his music. That's what it is. Bryan is also an amazing guy. I've had many sit-downs with him before, and every time I talk with him, I just feel like he's one of the most genuine musicians and people I've had the privilege of meeting. So I hope you really enjoy our conversation. I hope you really enjoy his music, and enjoy.
Oh, well, dude, it's good to see you. It's been a really long time.
It has been
You
quite a
left
while, my friend.
In 2018.
Yeah. So I was supposed to come back to California kind of a lot this year, but
Yeah.
thanks a lot, COVID-19, for
Yeah.
ruining all my plans to see my buddies.
Yeah, what types of gigs were you planning on doing?
I think there were 5 weddings
Okay.
and like a charity event at the zoo, and we were gonna do another one of those variety shows that we did at the Alcazar Theater, and I think I think you and I were gonna play at that. I thought,
Was I?
weren't we?
I mean, I never got approached about that, but that's fine.
We're gonna make that happen, man.
I'm down. Let's do it.
Dude,
I'm down.
how have you been doing in Santa Barbara?
It's pretty good. I've been doing a lot of online events, so that's why this green screen is behind me, because
I like it.
I just did one with this company, and they want me to have it look a specific way, and so I get to have a green screen, which is cool. Yeah, there's a lot of fun gizmos around my house now. My house looks like a train wreck, like 100% of the time, because I have a giant green screen where there's typically a walkway. Yeah, so it's a lot. What is working from home been like for you lately?
Well, I think at the beginning of the pandemic, I definitely was doing a lot more live streaming, and I honestly, I feel kind of like I'm letting some of my friends down because I haven't been doing that much here, for a few different reasons. The first one is, I mean, you might remember that I worked at REI Santa Barbara, so I got a job working at the REI in West Hartford. And so I've been doing that a lot, which is great because, as you know, my other big passion besides music is getting people hooked on doing outdoorsy stuff, whether that's hiking or biking or canoeing or kayaking or backpacking and that kind of thing. So I've been in lieu of playing physical gigs, I have like one gig that's been hiring me a couple times a month. In lieu of that and doing online stuff, I've just been slinging backpacks to the masses, man.
Nice. That's awesome. What have you been going on hikes or like bike rides? What have you been doing to stay active?
Well, primarily during quarantine, I've been eating like just tubs of ice cream in one sitting. Like, we all have to keep our spirits up one way or another,
Yeah.
right? But at a certain point, it did get to the point where I was wearing only sweatpants because my other pants were not fitting, and
Right.
I was like, okay, I got to do something about this. So I started running again, and I've been getting up to like 7-8 miles at a whack, but doing like 3 runs or so a week, and it's
Cool.
been really good for my mental health. That's for sure. And trying to get out onto the trails as much as possible, so doing some trail running as well.
Nice.
But I am glad that you invited me to do this because I dusted off my live stream setup, which is just basically like my phone and some lamps with the shades taken off of them so I can get really bright light.
That's awesome. It looks great.
Thanks, man. You look great.
Thank
I love
you.
your green screen. It's so
Green
cool.
scheme. Yeah, thanks, man. This way people can, add their own backgrounds to it, in the future, hopefully, I would love to hear you play a song. I don't know if you've been writing any new songs, But if you didn't know what song to play, there's songs of yours that I would love to request.
Okay, well, why don't you? What song would you like me to play? I'll play one for you, and then I'll play one for me.
Let's do Little Bit.
Little bit. All right. Very good, sir. All right, so this I think is a good song for the times because it talks about just that always is something that people share if you talk about it or talk openly enough. You'll find that you have something in common with almost anyone, and so this is a song about that. All right, 1, 2, 3. Your hand, now that's something that I understand. 'Cause my heart and your heart, they've been beating the same beat from the very start. We got to look for the little bits, same in every one of us. Hey! So, oh, hey! So, oh, hey! So, oh, hey! Your skin and my skin. Now it ain't the same world that we're living in. But your eyes and my eyes, well, maybe we're hiding in the same disguise. We got to look for the little bit. So we got to look for the little bit. The same in every one of us. Hey! So oh, hey! So oh, my hand and your hand. Well, now that's something that I understand. 'Cause my heart and your heart, they've been beating the same beat from the very start. We got to look for the little bit, the same in every one of us, yeah. So, oh, hey, so, oh, hey, so, oh, hey, so my hand. Now, that one has a guitar solo in it that is hard to do without the rest of the band, so I had to kind of just truncate that bit out.
It sounds great, man. I love
man.
that song. I find that song so romantic.
Oh,
Like, because I always thought it was like a song for you and your wife, of like when we're fighting, this is what we're doing to like bring it back to ground level.
I mean, that's what I love about songwriting is that, there are so many different ways that you can interpret a lyric. And, to me, I think all of them are valid. And if that's what that means to you, awesome. I'm glad that it has that meaning.
Sweet. So did you write that when you were out on the Appalachian Trail doing your Find Yourself walk?
Actually, no, I wrote that in Santa Barbara, in Jeff Kranzler's garage studio, pretty much. And it was around the time of like Bernie Sanders and that kind of thing. And it was a song about like just people, again, kind of coming together regardless of race, actually. Like that was a part of it as well. It was like talking about that there are disparities, in our world, very much so between people of color and people that are white, and just saying, hey, let's help each other out and get through this, because when it comes down to it, we're all people.
Right. Yeah, that's impressive that you basically say that. You say my skin, your skin, it's not the same world we're living in. And it's just so funny that I interpreted that so differently. And now that I hear it, I'm like, oh, it's actually like pretty explicit.
That was a pretty literal shot for me. Sometimes I hit it right on the nose. I'm like, no art today, just straight down the pipe.
It's a good line. I really like it. That song vocally is you do a lot of things vocally that they seem tiring to me, like because they require so much effort. And you, like, when you were in Santa Barbara, you were playing like all the time, just all the time. And what I'm really curious about from you is like, how were you keeping it up? What were you doing to maintain your voice? What were you avoiding or what were you not avoiding? Like how were you taking care of your voice, and how are you taking care of your voice now, if at all?
That is definitely something that I've always struggled with, and I don't know if you can identify with this, but as a singer, I'm always like, I wish I could just sing a little bit higher,
Yeah.
Like there's that like that song's so cool, and there's that one note that's just a little bit out of my range.
Right.
And so I've always been like kind of forcing my voice to go places that it hasn't, and through mimicking other people and kind of figuring out like some of the techniques that I think that people like Chris Stapleton and like Ray LaMontagne are using, where it's almost like halfway between singing in a full chest voice and a falsetto. It's like this weird.
Ray LaMontagne always sings so high, but it's this like, it sounds like if chest voice is here, it's like right before his throat.
Yeah. And it's kind of fuzzy, like he's got this like furry vocal cord thing going on. But so I feel like I have blown my voice out a lot, especially when I was younger. And the things that I do now to keep myself in pretty good shape are I don't drink a lot on a gig.
Right.
Alcohol really does mess with me. And I make sure that I get a lot of sleep. So like in some ways, musicians actually are athletes. We just use different muscles, what I mean? So, and the muscles happen to be inside our bodies and people can't see them. And if they looked at our vocal cords, they would know that we have like the bulging pectorals and biceps of Mr. Universe inside our throat, which is really odd to think about, but it's true, So, you have to let yourself recover, and then you got to take guitar solos. You got to be hydrating on the gig. You got to hydrate beforehand, and just keeping yourself in generally pretty good condition, like physically translates directly to, your whole body translates. Your vocal cords are part of your whole body, so you have to take care of all of it. And there were definitely gigs that it didn't go so well, because it was like gig number 5 in 5 days, and we played a lot of like 3-hour gigs, and but that, and just kind of allowing myself to not necessarily go 100% all of the time, like the show has to have a kind of a exciting curvature to it. It has to have peaks and valleys.
Right.
And if you're like 100% all of the time, that just gets tiring for the audience. So, I would try to build my set, like build a warm up into my set. So I don't do a lot of vocal warm ups, but I do typically start out the sets with songs that are kind of start soft and gradually and lower. And as you go throughout the concert, you'll find that the songs start to get louder and more, higher, bigger, crazier notes,
Right. What are some of the techniques that you learned from Chris Stapleton, Ray LaMontagne? Like what? Yeah, because I don't know what those are.
Yeah, I don't really know if it would be like actual like the crouching tiger hidden cigar technique. I don't know if there are like necessarily names for it, but just trying to figure out like how they're able to sing those higher notes smoothly, to me is again just not necessarily pushing it in the chest voice and like giving it that full round open throat, but kind of it's like almost like it's hard to explain, but like if you could visualize like when you blow on a bottle and you get the tone off of that,
Right.
like instead of just blowing right down the bottle, you're kind of like coming across, and from the back of my throat is how I kind of reach up to that. I also found that if you slide into notes and don't use a glottal, is it a glottal attack? So
Glottal.
instead of like saying ga, you go ha, you know, so you kind of use an H sound instead of the ah,
Yeah.
ha. That
Yeah.
kind of just gives the note a nice soft place, and you can kind of like start off quietly and let the note kind of blossom
Interesting.
and with volume, and that makes it easier to sing higher.
Man, okay. I feel like I know what you're talking about, but sometimes I feel like my throat feels tired. Does your, like, when you're practicing that, does your throat feel tired, or is it like totally at ease?
The idea is to loosen it, yeah, and get loose, like relaxed, and yeah, if you clench your fist, if you clench your throat, after a while it's going to get tired from doing that.
Right.
So yeah, to relax, and yeah.
That's interesting. So one this is a revealing story about me, just in general, where I also try to avoid alcohol when I play gigs, but sometimes a gig is 3 hours and you're just tired of doing what you're doing, so I'll start drinking as like a coping mechanism because I'm like, I just need something else to do other than just sing the whole time. Yeah, so what when you do drink, do you have rules of like, I can only drink beer when I'm playing live, or no?
No, definitely not. And I mean, I totally get what you're saying. Like when we play at the Maverick Saloon, you know,
Yeah.
you can't not have like a beer and a shot of whiskey. Like that's
Right.
just what you do there, you
Yeah.
know. The trick is to not have 10 shots of whiskey, you know,
Right.
like A, you got to drive home from the gig and not die, you know.
Right. Yeah.
And then I don't know, I tend to make poor choices when I drink a lot. So
Sure.
I definitely try to, you know, give that vibe that like we're like partying right along with everybody, but like, you know, maybe just notch or two down. You know?
Right. Totally. I've been staggering it towards the final set so
Yeah.
that the majority of the heavy lifting has been done, and now it's just finishing out the job.
Totally. That makes perfect sense. I love to drink like iced tea on the first set, you know, and maybe on the second set I'll have a beer. And then the third set, maybe I'll have another beer. And then hopefully I won't have 10 more beers after that. But that's something, you know, I've been getting better at, you know, because especially for us, you know, it almost feels like alcohol is part of our pay, you know. And if we say, oh, no, thanks, that we're like turning down one of the incentives. And, you know, I think that's one of those big misconceptions, though, when people kind of see us and they're like, oh, you guys party all the time and every night you're out getting drunk and da-da-da. And like, just that's not sustainable. Like that's how you know, you could end up with a problem, you know. So yeah. So yeah, I think it's great to have a couple, you know, but yeah, I can't do that every night, man. I'm getting older, man. Hangovers are bad. You know, they hurt. It's painful.
One of the things we have in common, one of the books, is Name of the Wind. And you remember Kavoth, he has this trick where he pays the bartender half. I've always wanted to do this. Like ask the bartender to like not serve me alcohol and then just pocket the money and pay me half at the end.
Yeah. And then if somebody asks for the drink, then the bartender makes them something that's really foul and disgusting, you know, and then the guy's like, oh, how do you drink that?
Yeah.
Yeah. that was a good book.
I've always wanted to, but it also kind of feels nefarious. I'm not really interested. Are you still writing new songs, or what is your art these days looking like?
So a few different things have been going on. Not so much during this pandemic time. During pandemic, I've written one new song, and it's like again, pretty much just about being in a pandemic.
Yeah.
But I've been working with a artist here in Connecticut named Nikita Waller, who's just an incredible like R&B singer, and we've written about 5 songs together so far.
Cool.
And the idea with that is to hopefully put out an EP or something for her.
Cool.
But that's kind of stalled right now because can't really get together, and it's difficult times. So
Yeah.
we definitely write better in person. We tried doing a Zoom writing session, and it was like, but yeah, and I've been doing some other project work, doing some like covers, those cover videos where
Yeah.
everybody's in their own video square. Like
Yeah.
doing a couple of those with some guys that I used to play with way back when here in Connecticut.
Sure.
Um,
Are you
but
from
yeah, I've
Connecticut?
got one new song that I could definitely play
I would love it.
if you want to hear
I
it.
would love it.
All right. Let me just tune this sucker real quick. This one's in a drop D. All right. So this one's called "We're All in This Together Now." It goes like this. Do you feel like you're walking on your own? It's so cold, and it's so far. Will we get where we want? Where we've got everything we need. We're all in this together now. Do you feel like it's out of your control and the day is slow, gone too fast? We will get where we want, where we've got everyone we need. We're all in this together now. Well, we're all in this together now. Well, we're all in this together now. Well, we're all in this together now.
That's awesome. That's really sweet.
Thanks, man. Sounds better with the other instruments that I recorded. I played like upright and some drums and
Heck yeah.
had some violin and viola going on.
Do you
as well,
play
so-
all of those instruments?
I do, and I need to get into the studio more and play with that stuff more because it was really fun.
Yeah.
It's so hot here, and we don't have central air, and so like right now, I think I'm about to sweat through my shirt.
Wait, you don't have air conditioning?
Well, we have an air conditioner, but I'm not going to
Okay.
turn it on right now because it sounds like a jet engine.
Sure. Oh, we run into that same problem. I record at a guy's house in Pasadena, and it's always blazing hot inside, and then between takes we turn on the air conditioning and just all stand next to it.
Yeah. It's like, again, it goes right back to that like athletics metaphor from before, like we're cutting weight, we're sweating it out in the sauna.
Right. What do you use to record right now? What is your home setup?
Well, I have a MacBook and I have Logic,
Cool.
and I have a Universal Audio Apollo Twin interface, and then I have a few mics. I have a SM58 like what you've got there. I've got a Telefunken M80, and I've got an AKG C414, which is a more of a studio mic.
I have that one right behind us.
Nice.
Yeah, it's. I was looking at like, because as soon like all of them are on back order right now, because they're kind of like the studio quality microphone, and every musician needs a studio quality microphone in their own house right now. So they're pretty back ordered at the moment. That's sweet. So are you working on like another EP or album in the upcoming future? What does that look like?
Yeah, so the Bryan Titus trio definitely has some new songs that we haven't recorded, and probably even some ones that you might not have heard, because I wrote them, pre-pandemic, but here in Connecticut.
Right.
So I could definitely play you some of that stuff too if you'd be interested in hearing it. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, yeah, if you're totally down, then
I'm down to play songs all night long, man. You know me.
3
hours. Let's go.
I also wanted to ask you about like your influences and your ability to do vocal runs, because I feel like I feel like your ability to do vocal runs is very, very good. And
yeah, but it's not Will Bremen good.
Sure.
That guy is crazy. Crazy good.
Yeah. But I mean, still, I like your vocal runs. Like you're actually able to do the Tennessee Whiskey run, which I like. Like how long do you how long do you think it took you to feel proficient enough to do it in public?
Well, first of all, I don't do it right. I don't do it correctly. It is more difficult than I can do. The one that I can't do that one.
Okay.
I do my approximation of it, which like that's my general rule is, if I can't do something, I try to do something that I like,
Yeah.
And I'm not like a shredding guitar player either, but I can take some solos that I like, and
Right.
It's the same idea with that run. It's such a good one, and I can't do it. And I've tried. I have tried for a while, and it's a little bit too complicated for me. I don't know what the notes are.
Yeah.
I have to hear it in my head before I can do it, and I can't hear it.
Yeah. How
So
when you simplified it, were you just like you just tried to capture the same sort of feel for it, or did you like do you like play it on a piano and then practice it that way, or?
I definitely just tried to capture the same sort of feel.
Yeah.
And like one thing that to me is it's like a little bit behind the beat. It's not like decka decka decka. It's like decka 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 decka.
Yeah.
That he does. So it's kind of like a little bit more like swinging. So it's got a little swang to it. That's like a swing, but in the South.
Yeah.
Swang. So that one. Let's see. What do I do? You're as sweet as strawberry wine. You're as warm as a glass of brandy. So that's what I do.
Yeah.
And he does like diggity diggity diggity, and I do diggity diggity or something like that.
Yeah. These are very Jack Black sounds you're making right now.
Oh, man. And I'm like,
when you're practicing runs, like, did you like tell me about the progression? Was there like a run when you were 20 that you learned and you were like, oh, that's how I learned how to do that like really quick walk down, like, because I struggle with all runs. And the only runs I can do are like 3 notes, 4 notes. But that's like, what you just did was like 10 notes. So like, was there some sort of on-ramp of like, yeah, this is the first run I learned, and then like, this is like the third run I learned, and eventually I was able to do this kind of a thing?
I think the most important thing is that you have to feel it. You know what I mean? Like, and if you're like counting out how many notes you're going to do, like that is the opposite of feeling it. You know what I mean? So like, like you can't look at it like I'm gonna count them all, or like Pokemon, like I'm gonna catch them all. You're not gonna catch all the runs. Oh, that sounds bad. definitely don't catch the runs. Don't catch the runs. But yeah, I don't know. For me, I listen to a lot of blues, and I grew up in the '90s, and there was a lot of like R&B that was popular at that time, like artists like Belle Biv DeVoe, and like so, and like Boys to Men and stuff like that. So I wasn't into that style of music at all, but it was inescapable. It was on the radio all the time, and like I would like sing, like try to sound like that as a joke, and but I think it got in me, it got in my ear. Obviously, it got in my head. And then as I got older and I like started to be exposed to more music and not be such a like twit, like I was, what I was like in high school. So I thought I knew what was cool, I knew everything at that point. And as I was exposed to more and more different genres and my ears kind of got bigger, I was like, oh, that's actually a really cool thing to be able to do, especially when it's so emotive, like that's what it is to me, is like those runs are for me more about like the conveyance of the emotion, it shows the passion, and it's technical, yes, but like when you're doing it right, it is just coming out of you and you're not necessarily like thinking about it and analyzing it as much. But so the really difficult runs I cannot do, and like the things that a lot of the younger like neo soul singers and when I listen to Will Bremen and I'm like, wow, that is amazing. I really don't know how to do that, and it's an art form in itself, So my advice to you is like find the thing that you can do that feels good and do it well, and like own it and be like, this is my thing, I'm going to do this run and and yeah, man, be proud of it. It's your thing.
Are there runs that you don't like, that like certain songs that like do a run, or like certain times that you've been like, that's the opposite direction I want to go?
I wouldn't necessarily say that. I think everything, there's different reasons for doing different things, and some of it is flashy, and that's awesome. And I wouldn't condemn someone for doing that, like because that's like things like that get you noticed, and like more power to you if you can do it. Again, I can only speak for myself and say like I want it. I want to feel it, like I want to feel it, So that's all you got to do. If you can make me feel it, then I'm going to be with you. I'm going to be with you 100%. I'm going to give you like 2 thumbs up,
As long as you can feel it, that's great.
Well, yeah, if you can make me feel it, if I can tell that you're feeling it, then I will feel that too. And like that's the thing that I love most about music, is that like, when an artist is in it and they're like doing their thing, and just like the crowd comes with you, and that's one thing that I think, our band was able to do. Like me, Jeff, and Dustin, when we're like feeling it, like it's pretty potent, and people like, oh yeah, I feel that too, and that's what's fun,
Yeah, your stage energy is pretty giant. Like it's very infectious, it's very big, it's very lively. Like who do you feel like influenced you, maybe growing up, or like as you started playing music, like who influenced your stage presence, your ability to do stage banter? Were there specific people you look towards for that?
Well, I definitely have gotten a lot better at that over the last, even 5 years, like I would, that was when we were talking about alcohol before, I used to get very nervous, like, and I still do get nervous, but I used to get very nervous before a gig before, and so I would usually have like 2 beers before I went on stage. And then that's not usually a great recipe, but that was how I was able to sort of feel more confident. But you'll notice that I definitely don't talk too much at the beginning of a gig, but as we get into it, I start to talk more. And I think that is probably common for a lot of people. You start out, you're feeling a little weird, again, after playing a couple of songs, you start to feel comfortable again because you're like, oh yeah, I can do this, you know. I I really like Tom Waits. He's just a weirdo, and he like the things he talks about on stage and in his songs are very strange. I like Anthony Kiedis a lot from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, just because he has this like balls to the walls kind of energy. This like I don't care. I'm just out there being me, and I respect that, and I wish that I could do that as well as he does it. And yeah, I mean, and then I don't know. I like the guys that get up there and just like sort of are themselves and tell their stories. So like Taj Mahal, I got to see him at the Lobero in Santa Barbara, and it was a birthday present from my wife, and I got to sit in the front row, and it was the coolest thing because this guy's like 80 years old, blues legend, and he just like is the real deal, and he made me feel it, and everything that he said, even if he had said it a million times, I felt like, you know, he was talking to me. It was cool. It was really neat. And then I will say that Dustin, who's in the Bryan Titus trio with me, like he's been a big supporter for me as well, and someone who I've kind of learned a lot about, a lot from. Specifically, he's got he's got like banter skills like nobody's business, and like the thing that I really liked about being in a band with him is that it was like there are two front guys, you know what I mean? And we could kind of like, if I wasn't feeling it, he would kind of come up and like back me up and kind of like take the lead and like tell jokes or whatever. And we would kind of always be balancing each other out, and that was really cool. And yeah, he's got a great like kind of swagger,
And a great sweat. The man can sweat through two shirts, and I respect it. What has it been like going from the trio to doing solo shows mostly in? Are you doing solo shows mostly in Connecticut, or are you?
Yeah, I have some different guys that I do play with. A guy that I used to be in a band with when I was in high school, Jesse Alfred, is a good friend, and he's playing bass with me on some duo stuff and hopefully some trio stuff. And then I met a drummer named Jared Caddy, he's actually a really gifted jazz drummer who lives up in the northwest part of the state. And so hopefully we're going to be able to get some trio stuff going. But it's going to be a different vibe, like it's going to be more of like a plugged in kind of vibe, whereas the trio is going to be the acoustic trio. I definitely want to stress that I will be back to California as soon as I can, and that Jeff and Dustin and I will still be playing together whenever we get the opportunity to. That band is one of the like musically one of the most special things that's happened to me in my life, and I'm insanely grateful for the fact that we got to do what we did in Santa Barbara. And it's just like something that bums me out to not be able to get back there this year.
Right. Yeah, you guys are a very special group. It's so interesting. Did you get to watch the Michael Jordan documentary?
I haven't yet, man. I haven't been watching TV. I've been watching a lot of TV, but there's so much good stuff out there right now.
I highly recommend it. And it one of the things, because I used to play sports in high school, and I still love sports to this day and just general competition, but like the feeling of being on the same team with someone and being able to share this like mental link with another person, and with just like the slightest twitch of your body, them understand what it is that you mean, and like musically be able to go somewhere without speaking about it. I think like the chemistry between you, Jeff, and Dustin is incredibly strong, and you've played a crap ton of gigs together. So
well, you don't play a game without having practice, right? So
right.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's a really special thing. How when you play solo, do you deal with, because one of the reasons why I like to play with people is because it feels way less lonely. So do you do you struggle with those types of feelings as you play more solo gigs in Connecticut, or do you generally feel pretty good?
I feel pretty good, but I would say that it's a different animal. You know, like the gigs that I'm playing are not anywhere near like the kind of gigs that I was playing in California. You know, we're not playing at breweries and wineries and on stages of theaters and stuff. I'm playing at like restaurants, and I'm more of like, you know, the dinner entertainment guy who, you know, who, like singer songwriter that tells the stories. And but then, you know, people come up to me and like ask me to play the Eagles, and I'm like, okay, you know. But I've kind of developed like this different narrative for that kind of thing, and it's become a little bit, it's gotten better. Like at first it was a little bit like, oh man, I really miss playing with the group. um I definitely miss playing guitar solos and being able to rest, you know, because, you know, when you're playing solo, you're like, I'm on all the time now, you know. But again, I kind of have tweaked my style and given myself some like mellower, you know, kind of beachier Jack Johnson-y vibes to kind of utilize for those occasions, which is pretty much all I've got right now. There's like one place open in town.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know?
What you said, you changed the script a little bit. What's the new script for like your
Well,
album?
again, just trying to like maybe not be so like, you know, so we talked about like the roller coaster ride of the show before. Like the highs are not as high right now. You know, there's not like this like wah, and you're like going crazy, like, you know, like fast, manic, swirling energy that like sometimes we would get to with the trio. You know, it's more like, you know, like, so baby, don't worry about a thing. Every little thing's gonna be alright. You know, like more like soothing. I'm trying to like make people feel relaxed and as much as I can, like, you know, give them that sense of safety and togetherness that, you know, we used to enjoy before we were worried about people coughing on us. You know? Like, you know, for our lives.
Right, yeah.
I feel like I've had to go through a very similar place because it's always frustrating to have so many good songs and for people to want to hear covers that you don't necessarily care about. Do you have a most hated cover request?
I do, but the thing is, like, I will still play it because as much as I want to be like, oh, you know, like, I still sort of have to say that I believe that we as musicians are in the customer service business, you know. And so, you know, I found that I will say, like, if you want me to play a specific song, you know, please write it on a $20 bill and put it in the tip jar, you know. Like, and like that's, you know, that's something that I learned from another you know, in-person musical mentor of mine, Mark Romano. He was like, you know, well, he'll play any song. You know, he's got like the book that's this thick. It's got literally every song that anybody will ask for in it. But yeah, he'll make you pay for it, you know.
That's amazing. I'm gonna steal that line.
Do it, dude. Yeah, and if it's Wagon Wheel, then it's $100 bill, right?
Is it Wagon Wheel?
It is Wagon Wheel. That's $100 song, my friend. But you know, we're in Santa Barbara. People can afford it. You know, well,
Yeah,
some
totally.
people can, and hopefully they come to our gigs and give us $100 bills.
Right.
That is the exact song that my mom most recently requested from me. So there you go.
Oh, buddy.
It's
It has 4 chords. That's like one more than some other songs.
it's weird that like if you use only 4 chords, it's like worse. But a lot of times, like 3-chord songs are like way more prestigious. It's weird. It's a really weird concept. Looking out to the future, you're hoping to make an EP. You're hoping to get back to California when you're able to. What are you kind of doing in the meantime to sort of hone your craft or to sharpen the axe? Because I feel like there's only so much we can do during this time, because certain progress relies on like exposure, and like I don't necessarily have the tools to like get that exposure online, so I sort of rely on the in-person stuff. So like, what are you doing in the meantime between now and whenever the pandemic ends to like make sure you're like put your best foot forward?
Well, the first thing is that I'm trying to be gentle with myself. I definitely, like all musicians, play that game of I'm going to now compare myself to other people who are vastly, vastly more successful than I am, and now I have made myself feel like a pile of poo. So I think I'm gonna be gentle with myself, and I'm going to uh, kind of, I guess what I'm primarily trying to do is, a long time ago with the Bryan Titus trio, we came up with the catchphrase of postmodern barn dance, and I've been trying to figure out what the actual hell that means, and try to put some songs together that kind of are in that style of sort of bluegrass, sort of folk, um, lots of fun, lots of train beats, lots of shuffles, and talking about something that could be happening today or 100 years ago. Like trying to draw those um, the comparisons of what hasn't really changed that much, that is positive, and celebrate the things that are old fashioned but good, uh, and and kind of foster that spirit of community that those kinds of barn dance and that kind of thing could possibly uh, be. Like I want to create a place that's fun and everybody's welcome, and that music that kind of brings people together, and no matter where they're from, they can have something in it. So
Yeah.
I think that's what's cool about American music. It's like we have, the blues and like the birth of rock and roll, and like that musical melting pot that is probably the in my opinion this country's greatest singular achievement. Is American pop music. Maybe not pop music, but.
As you were saying that, a song idea came into my head for that. You could say that like the song title could be Old Fashioned, and it's just about ordering an old fashioned at a bar.
Oh, that's a good cocktail.
And because people have been drinking old fashions for a long time, and then it can just be a bar scene. Anyway, that was my thought.
I think that's a good idea. I think that it's funny that could you imagine a new cocktail called an old fashioned?
Sure.
We got a new cocktail. It's brand new. It's old fashioned. You can have one too. Are you gonna play any songs, Connor? Or is it just me playing today?
I'm happy to play you a song. I got right now. I'm in the process of making a EP full of love songs. I've kind of just saved all my love songs for this occasion. 3 of the songs on the album I'm not putting out on the internet anywhere, and the other ones I've like totally bombarded the internet with and will continue to do so. But I realized I was always playing the songs that were about to come out on the album, like before the album came out. So everybody was just like, oh, cool. I already know this song. Yeah, this one. This song is called This Is How I'll Love You. This is about when my wife and I first got married. There was just like a ton of stuff we had to figure out, and this is me learning how to love her better at the very beginning. And it involves like she worked at the preschool, and then she would come home, and I was unemployed, aka self-employed, for the first time in my life. So I was just crazy bored, and I wanted all of her attention, and she would just be like, I just need you to give me 10 minutes silence, like 10 minutes just do anything else. And then after 10 minutes, I'm all yours, but I just need something to be quiet right now. And it was like, but that was like a really easy thing that I could do to love her. And yeah, it took me like a little bit to learn that. And the song has other things in it too. No, I ain't blameless, but a good friend, darling. I'll stay away on Thursday nights when silence often lacks between all the mouths you feed, including me. This is how I love you, babe. This is how I love you, babe. This is how I love you, baby, now. No, I'm not the wild type. I'm making coffee sweat out of sight. The dust mites that accumulate and kill the spiders that you hate. Breakfast when you're running late. And this is how I love you, babe. This is how I love you, babe. This is how I love you, baby, now. And I'll organize the closet, light the candles if you need. Order takeout, turn the heater on, make sure your side has sheets. Grab the paper and your favorite glass to drink your bourbon neat. You know it's yours when it's too still for me. And this is how I love you, babe. This is how I love you, babe. This is how I love you. This is how I love you, babe. This is how I love you, babe. This is how I love you, babe. Be now.
That was beautiful, man. You had me like, ding. Like, there was some really cute and adorable, but heartfelt lines in there. I really like that, man.
Yeah, I saw you smile at the make sure your side has sheets.
Yeah. Well, that's because I'm guilty of that. I'm like, give me that.
In our first like few months of being married, we realized we need our separate sheets. So, because we both like to burrito.
Yep, I'm with you.
And so we were both like, are we allowed? Like, neither of our parents ever did that. We're like, can you even do that as a married couple? And we're like, you totally can. So, yeah, that's what we do.
We can make our own rules, man.
You can make your own rules. If you're happy, if it works. Do you want to play me one more to play us out, and then we'll call it? We're around an hour.
Sure. Well, man, since you played that charming song, I'll play my charming song. And this one is, for me, is kind of like, we as songwriters need to have a good muse, right? Like, that's a very key element. So this is just kind of a descriptor of my muse, and it's called I Got a Girl. It goes like this. Got a girl who's fair and fine, hair with golden lips like wine. When I hold her, I can't help but cry. Oh, me, oh my, yeah. good. She's the pie-baking saint of the neighborhood. When she hacks up her apron, it's understood. I make her mind, she only would. I got a girl, she's salty sweet. She swears like a sailor through her pearly teeth. But she put back the whiskey like you won't believe. Oh, she stole my heart, that pretty little thief. She might be trouble, but she's all mine. I caught her shoplifting at the 5 and dime with $20 in her pocket the whole damn time. I love her so much, but she's robbing me blind. I got a girl, she's so damn smart. She got diamonds in her mind and fire in her heart. Well, she put me back together when I fall apart. Yeah, she bring me back home when I've gone too far. Yeah, I got a girl, yeah, she's alright. She put the yin and the yang in my kung fu fight. She's my half moon hanging in a starry sky. My masterpiece painted in black and white. She's my telephone ringing on a Friday night. Oh, I got a girl and she's alright. Yes, I got a girl and she's alright.
So good. Is that new?
It's pretty new. Like, it's not been recorded yet, so that'll be on the Postmodern Barn Dance.
I love it. That's such a banger. The 20 in her pocket the whole time.
The whole damn time.
That's very.
Just doing it just for the thrill.
That's awesome. I love it, man.
Well, Connor, thanks so much for this, man. It's been really great to see you, and I love your green screen. I can't wait to see what you do with it.
Yeah, man.
One of the reasons why I wanted to do this is one, because I obviously I miss playing music to people, but I also one of the cool things about being a musician is meeting musicians and getting to have relationships with these people who write songs. I think sharing songs is I as soon as I saw High School Musical for the first time, I was like, oh man, life is gonna be like that. You're gonna have a feeling, and then a song will emerge. And then when the song isn't enough, you'll dance. And then I grew up, and life wasn't like that ever, except within songwriters. Songwriters are kind of the only people who can make that magic because we practice that skill.
And most of the time we have it going on in our heads, right? You know, how come these people aren't dancing? I just got my latte. It's amazing.
You need to ask Carly and Bethany to play you their song Almond Milk, because it's basically them receiving almond milk and writing a song immediately.
Those girls have got some magic.
I know, they too have a magical thing. Yeah, dude, so good to see you. I gotta get going, but I can't wait till you get back to Santa Barbara, and I'd love to buy you a drink soon.
Dude, I will take it. Let's make it an old-fashioned.